Alrighty, thank you everybody for listening again today. We got Dave Kilbride for you, very funny guy from the Des Moines area, very interesting and very very smart. He's a lot of fun. He doesn't think it came over this way in the episode, that way in the episode, but I think it was still fun either way. You know what I'm saying? So to have your own opinion on it, man. Thanks for coming on again, Dave. I really did enjoy having you here. I'll have you on again sometime as part of one of the first group podcasts. And other than that, the reason I'm kind of switching up the order, originally I'd announced I was going to do Sinister Carney first, but I'm going to hold his back, help try to work with his a little more and get it not so crackly and poppily as some of the recent episodes have been, as some of you may know. And so just keep your eye out for him if you're looking forward to him. Sinister Carney, he'll be coming up. And then we'll have a advertisement for Mr. Sean Dangler talking about the next episode, the next show of the Graham. And so after that, I just want to give thanks to Mel Golly. He's one of my bosses. He just gave me an extra long lunch break to have Cold Saint, a young upcoming rapper from Iowa here on the podcast, so that way I could have the time. It was the only time he had. So thank you again, Mel. I really appreciate that. And then my little brother has a show with Mac Lethal coming up on March 13th at Lefty's Live Music in Des Moines. His name is Jay Versus. Check him out. You can also listen to him on this podcast on a previous episode. I believe it was number 3. And you can check him out. That'll be again this Mac Lethal March 13th at Lefty's Live Music. Get your tickets now. And we'll see you out there. Hope you guys enjoy the episode. And thank you for listening.
Hey, let me tell you about something really cool. I'm talking about an Instagram-based comedy game show. That's right, The Graham. And you should come to it on March 20th at 7:30 p.m. at Teehee's Comedy Club. Only $10. It's going to be a wonderful time. You're going to laugh some more, and you also get a vote on who the best contestant is. And that's The Graham. And we'll see you March 20th.
Been a buster, I ain't never been a sucker, I ain't never been a runner unless I'm running to the money. Gotta watch my back from niggas trying to take it from me. So don't be coming around me trying to tell me about my nigga. This is my life, I'ma live it how I like it. So don't be coming around me trying to get all in my mind. Shawty, this is my life, I'ma live it how I like it.
You had a water, right?
I do.
Okay, cool. I
provided my own hydration.
I forgot to ask, but that was because then I remembered because I saw you with one. Alrighty. So this is They Came From the Underground. I got Dave Kilbride here with me today. He's a local Des Moines area comedian. Woo. And he was also one of the panelists on the Graham with me. As you heard me as you've heard me talk about on social media if you follow me, or if not, then you'll hear me talk about it on here more. It was a really good show. Dave was definitely one of a good momentum holder.
It was interesting. My first answer bombed because I blanked, but then I relaxed and I just pushed forward and had some fun.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely a good time. Yeah, he's a real funny guy, and welcome, man.
Thank you.
Thanks good to have you. No problem, man. How you doing?
Doing well today. It's been an interesting weekend.
Yeah.
We rehearsed with Cooper yesterday for our song for the No Shame Theater talent show tomorrow. So
you're doing a song for the No Shame Theater?
Yep.
Right on, man. What do you play an instrument?
So I do. I've played bass for 20 years, off and on.
Yeah.
Not to the point where I'm talented enough to say I've been playing for 20 years, but off and on, yeah.
Right on, man.
It's my instrument of choice. My older brother played guitar, and so I started playing bass. And it's just like old school Nintendo. Bass is the second player of the guitar world. I'm player 2.
That's true. That's
very true.
And what's funny is it's the most important element of a band. Because it's
without bass, if you take bass out of most tracks, the whole song feels empty.
It does, yeah.
There's nothing holding it together, and it's weird when you try to explain that it's kind of part of the rhythm section. Mm-hmm. People don't realize how important it actually is.
Exactly. It's the same thing as when you start if you start trying to make music, that you realize how important a like a consistency to both the bass and a high pitch is very important. If you're too in either one, and it's very empty. So that's what makes a full song. But yeah, that's really cool, man. That's yeah, I know Cooper plays guitar and a little ukulele. That's what I do, and then obviously I do little drums too. What kind of song you guys? Do you have like is it a subjected kind of like song, or is it kind of like a skit bass?
No, we're doing Still DRE by Dr. Dre.
Nice.
We're gonna be Dr. Dave and Coop Dog.
I like that.
We're doing a
Coop Dog.
It's a ukulele version. He plays ukulele, and I have a Kala ukulele bass, which is it's tuned just like a regular bass. It doesn't have the funny tuning of like a ukulele, but it's literally like 3 foot long, to the point where like if I had it out of the case sitting shotgun in the car and I got pulled over, their first question would be, "Where's the child?" Because it's so teeny tiny.
That's hilarious.
It's got rubber strings because it's so short you can't get metal to the correct tension to produce like an E at 440 hertz. So they're like these weird like oil like poly some kind of strings. It's weird. They're rubber though. It feels very weird.
That's very.
You notice it if you do slides real quick, because that heats up real quick.
Yeah.
A lot of friction.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. It's a resistant material. That's a resistant material.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be a fat guy with a little bass.
Fat guy with a little bass.
I love it though, man. If you would have bought this bass brand new, even though it looks like it should have Mattel stamped on it, it's a $900 bass. It's full mahogany, rosewood fretboard. Like it's a legit, beautiful instrument. I won a little cash at the casino and decided to get a used one. So
and that's the best bargain because
$20.
High $20.
$20.
That's a high material.
Fun to $450, and I'm like,
high material instrument. Hell yeah, that's really fun. Yeah, I've been thinking about writing some comedy music because I was into trying to do serious music for so long, but I'm like so focused into comedy lately. I'm like, maybe I should give that a shot. So
you'll be fun.
And I think the No Shame Theater would probably be a good place to start. But yeah, that's a good idea, man. But yeah,
it's just another way to get on stage. You know, stage time's important. It's for
that's true.
up and coming comics and whatnot, and it's good to flex a different type of muscle.
Yeah,
and
got
plus
the talent, show it.
Yeah, at the No Shame, there's typically not a huge audience, so there's nothing really to lose in case it goes horrible.
Right.
You just go out there and, take a leap and see what happens.
Yeah.
It should be fun.
Exactly. Yeah, that's very true. That's that's definitely something I've been wanting to get out and check out. That's on Friday. That's on
Monday. It's tomorrow.
Okay. Oh yeah, right.
I believe they say it's the third Monday of every month at Teehee's Comedy Club, 7:30 p.m. I believe that's the time.
Very nice.
Could be wrong, but it's a fun time to come out. There's poetry, comedy, music. One guy was juggling last time, and he was doing that thing where he was standing on a board on like a pipe thing where he's balancing like that. Like
that's cool.
It's a lot of fun to see what people can do.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Stuff that watching him juggle on that like plank on that thing just made me nervous. Like it gave me anxiety, like in the audience.
Yeah, exactly.
I could never do anything like that.
Yeah, there's that bar there, and that like if he goes forward, and then he is slightly elevated. So.
Yep.
And then like the stage isn't particularly like huge, but like obviously because of what it's meant for, and so then you don't have the widest area to not hit a ledge.
And then you have the embarrassing moment of if you do fall, you might take a bowling pin to the head afterwards from whatever you're juggling.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that hurt. That hurt as well.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's like a legit bowling pin, it's heavy. So I assume they maybe use a differently weighted looking one, but I have no idea.
You almost wonder. They would have. That'd be a good way to cheat.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
It's just a good way to showcase different comedy and get people in there. Like some people go up there and just tell stories and whatnot, and it doesn't matter if they're hilarious or if they're intriguing or entertaining. Just go up there and do it.
Yeah, exactly.
I recommend if anybody has the urge to get on a stage, give it a try. You'll have your good times, your bad times, but it's fun either way. It's addicting, isn't it? You get addicted to the stage.
I actually am. Yeah, I keep going. Like I keep like God, I was doing so like I do weirdly. Actually, just on that subject, I was kind of having this thought. I do weirdly good at names.
Yeah.
And then then the Tuesday it's just hard to do well at lefties. I think at this current point in time, where it's like in a bit of a down point, just with like the way the weather's going and
the
like
attendance
travel
and
is difficult and people's moods are a little down and the sun's not exactly out, so a little seasonal depression bringing the energy down for sure. So it's hard to go there and then not leave being like, all right, because I literally went up on the hat night.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I did a line I have in my set right now about Melania Trump. And first time I did it, big pop. Went well. And every time I've done it since then, like 30% as much. So it was. So I've been like, fuck. What did I? I was like, man, I wish I would have recorded that. So I'd have been like, what did I do differently?
I record every set.
I need to start.
I almost always videotape them all. It's good to like see crowd reaction and whatnot, to actually see like, was that a good enough laugh that like people are like, like bent over and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's good to see like, and I noticed so many mannerisms that I was doing that was annoying me, and I'm just thinking, man, if I do this on stage, I do this in real life.
Yeah.
Like I'm standing there holding the microphone with my right hand, telling a joke or a story or whatnot, and my left hand just has a mind of its own. It's just going all over the place for no reason, not helping the story, just distracting from me. So I'm distracting from myself.
Right.
So I've been able to stop quite a few of the things. I used to do this tongue click thing for like a joke indicator. Like, I'm like, why are you doing that? Like it was the dumbest thing. But it's stuff that you never realize until like you watch yourself in the third person perspective.
Right.
And it's usually not, even if you go up there and you kill, it's still hard to watch yourself again.
Big time.
Like it's just like, oof.
Yeah, exactly. You're just not used to it. You're just not used to it. And it's like hard enough going up and getting used to performing all together. Then to watch yourself do it back is like reliving that moment again without having without like go into much about it. And so it's definitely an awkward thing, but it's incredibly helpful for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
I have my I upload everything to YouTube, but mostly it's not listed just so I can access it at any time.
Nice.
And I have my first set up there, and I do not watch that. Did not go well. Some people talk about having a beginner's luck and killing the whole time. Woo!
Yeah.
Floundered like a fish.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I was like so nervous that I kept like I would say like the few jokes I remembered they would do well, and then I would just like blank and like not. I would only be up there for a couple minutes, and then I would get off. But then like what? And so I was like, I did good for as much as I flustered for like the first once or twice, and then I had like the other micers that were there, like Dave Stoltzer, and then like Shane or whatever, were like, hey, this is pretty, you should come back, keep doing it, or like this, to that degree. And so that was what made me kind of feel like it did go well, like it was better than I was perceiving it. And so then now I'm like working on just getting comfortable.
You know who's getting funnier every time I see him?
Who?
Wonder Bread.
Wonder Bread?
Oh, I love Wonder Bread.
Wonder Bread's great, yeah.
I bought a piece of art from him on Tuesday.
Oh, really?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Supporting the local talent.
Yeah, definitely.
He is getting legit funny. Like he'll go up there and just do like, you can tell it's off the top of his head.
Yeah.
But he's got moments where it's just hitting so hard now.
Right.
It's gonna be fun watching him evolve.
Big time, yeah.
That guy needs a reality series.
Yeah, that would be fucking hilarious.
Wonder Bread wanders.
That would be one.
Just follow him around. I'm sure that's what he does. Just goes from place to place during the day.
Dude, that'd be great. Just to see it, just to start off seeing the insides of his life and him starting up in comedy.
Oh, that'd be so entertaining.
That would be really entertaining. That could be an internet series if it was like something that people were able to if somebody was able to like put it together with them.
Yeah, like if you like won a stupid amount of money and you're like, for $10,000 you can make an hour-and-a-half documentary. You're like, hey, go follow this guy for a few weeks.
That's
Cut it together. Let's see what happens.
Very interesting one, and then you get a lot of comics in the background.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, big time. And so that would be a boost to them on his part, and so then that would give him a boost from everyone locally because they're like, oh, this dude like helped us out a little bit because it's like this is like this kind of little cult following thing, and then like everything grows over time. And
I want to start signing him up so he doesn't have to go last every time because he shows up at like 9:15 and whatever.
Yeah,
I just want to like preemptively write him in
just in case. Yeah,
just in case. I want to see him in front of everybody.
Right, that would be great.
You could tell he was out of place last week though because he usually Lefties usually has the monitors on the stage and they're the speakers that play the sound back to the band, and he usually like puts one knee up and leans into it, kind of like you see like every singer do from like 1995 till
Yeah.
now. You know, they're kind
Yeah,
of
he
leaning
very
into
much
the
has
crowd.
a performer, like
Oh,
a
yeah.
music performer kind of presence.
But you could tell like the monitors weren't there, and you could tell like he was off a little bit because of it. Like that's his safety, is to like lean into it a little bit. And you could tell it was somewhat off with that not being there.
Yeah, I could see that, big time. Yeah, that's something I've definitely noticed with them, and that's actually something I really like about Wonder Bread, because, oops, shit, knocked something over. Is that no one's ever said anything to me, no one's ever said anything negative to me about the gauges, like out when I'm like performing, or all the way back to just like jobs from when I got them when I was like 18.
Mm-hmm.
And so ended on them at 18, and I slowly built them up before then, secretly, and then that's another thing. But then basically I would only, like, I occasionally would get something from like an old man about it, because they're a little more upfront
Oh, of course.
and don't care, but it was like so occasional. And then I like one time did talk about, I'm a manager of mine, like having a complaint about like when I had like my lip piercings and stuff, just because he was like, no one likes to look at metal in your mouth because it doesn't make them hungry. I'm like, it doesn't make them not hungry. Like, no one cares. And like it's like that's always been the thing. I've never understood it. That's like I've never been the person who like can't watch something mildly gory while eating. I'm
True,
like,
yeah.
it's a movie. Like, I get it. Like, I'm like, I get some people are a little more sensitive to that sort of thing. So like, no, that's my appetite. I'm like, can I have that? You know?
Yeah, some people they do not have strong stomachs. My brother was a mortician for years, and
Yeah.
we were in a Subway in Fort Dodge, Iowa, and we were just talking about
Fort Dirt.
faux dizzle. And
Faux dizzle.
we were talking about his job. You know, as being a mortician, you see some crazy shit,
Right.
and we didn't even think about it. We're sitting there just eating our sandwiches, and the stuff he's talking about, of course, is horrific and gross.
Right.
And at about 5 minutes in the conversation, we realized, besides employees, we're the only one in the store. we conversated everybody out of that store. Talking
Oh my
about
God. Holy shit, dude.
Whoops, my bad. Apparently, 3-week decomposition is not the topic for most people's dinners. Yeah, you never want to be found because your neighbors report a smell, especially if you live in a house and they're like not in an apartment building.
Yeah, that's when it's really
That's a bad
bad.
one.
Oh God. That's something you don't think about.
Nope. No, it's a fascinating field though. It's interesting to see how all that works.
Yeah.
All the grief counseling you have to learn and whatnot, because you're seeing people out there. You know, no one's at the funeral home arranging their loved one's death on their best day.
Right.
It's
Yeah, exactly.
usually kind of a dour day.
That's a good point. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, never. Well, I guess there's probably some people that are secretly happy. Probably like, yeah,
Someone's
get him
like,
in the ground. I got this inheritance. Come
Get
on.
that money. Yeah, it's so sad. Oh yeah, so just go ahead and sign the lease on that.
Yep. This one lady, she didn't have anyone to be the executor of the will for her husband. They're an elderly couple, so my brother decided to help, and she couldn't really afford the funeral, and he went and volunteered and helped her clean out some of the gentleman's clothes. And these people lived through the Great Depression. They'd been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And they kept finding money in this guy's like clothing in this closet.
Oh wow.
And I'm pretty sure they found over $20,000. I think it's
damn.
close to $30,000 that this guy had squirreled away because he didn't trust banks anymore ever since the Great Depression back in the day. All his savings was basically the shirt pockets to suit he didn't wear anymore. Well, got that funeral paid for.
Oh yeah,
And then some.
That helps. Yeah, that's a huge surprise. I started sometimes you see stories like that. I see stories like that when I do my occasional social media look through, and you see sometimes you run into stories like that, and sometimes they split them up a bunch to make it some like clickbait thing, and then you have to go find
you have to find a paragraph like once every like 14 feet of scrolling.
Yeah, exactly.
Ugh,
yeah,
I hate those ones.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. Yeah, then eventually you just back out, and you're like, I don't even know how this ends.
What I appreciate is the people that do like the too long didn't read summaries in the comments of those. They'd be like, okay, I'm going to save you 14 hours of your life. Here's the story.
That
they
helps.
go through and they copy and paste everything of that clickbait thing.
That's dope. Yeah.
those are the heroes in this world
heavily.
nowadays.
Yeah, they're just like, fuck you guys. Like they're just fighting back against that shit.
Clickbait's so dumb.
Yeah,
But
why?
it has to be
The
effective.
fuck is the
though.
point of buying clicks?
I don't know. It's just so they're hoping like when you're scrolling through that story, you accidentally click on an article for Tide or something, and then that click registers X number amount of cents, most likely.
Yeah, most likely.
Millicents, probably.
Oh yeah, yeah. But in the end, then they just like fucking add up. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That's why I don't watch TV and I pay for YouTube, so I don't see any commercials these days. Like, I'll see a commercial at a buddy's house for a movie. I'm like, oh, that movie looks great. And they're like, yeah, it's been advertised for 6 months now.
Yeah.
Never heard of it. Don't have to listen to Tom Steyer every 15 seconds.
Yeah.
It's great.
That's the worst part about it. Yeah, that's like, because I have fucking subscriptions suck. Once that you have to go through so many of them, like it's a thing where eventually there's gonna be so many subscriptions. There's gonna be subscription services to get bundle subscriptions.
Oh, of course.
And because there's gonna have to be, it's gonna be like, all right, now you can get these like 17 things for this price because it's fucking. It's like everything has a subscription service, or you get bombarded with it with other shit.
And then people think if they cut the wire and they get rid of cable, well, usually you get a deal for having internet and cable bundled, right?
Yeah.
So you get rid of the cable. Now maybe your internet goes up $20-$30 a month.
Yeah.
And then you end up spending $80 on 4 or 5 subscription services. You're not really saving money at the end of the day.
No. Yeah, exactly.
It's just, it goes, they can get you either way. The cable company's going to get their money.
Yep.
I'm excited about Elon Musk's project coming up, that Starlink.
Yeah.
I do.
I just recently heard about that, too.
I do worry about him having like 12,000 satellites in low Earth orbit. I'm also fascinated with
a shitload, yeah,
with astronomy and all that stuff, and I love learning about that. But just hopefully they can find a way to reduce the visibility. But the thing is, like, people were real angry when they first launched the first batch, and so they launched 60 of these at a time, and to an altitude of like 250 miles. So that's not very far away at all in the scheme of things. And they're visible and they're all bunched together still. But then once they're raised to their final elevation of like 500 miles, there's no news stories about them anymore because they're just not as visible anymore. But then again, there's only 200 of them up there now, and they're aiming for 24,000, so that could change.
Right.
But they're talking gigabit, maybe even terabit connection anywhere in the world.
That would
absolutely anywhere.
It's and that's so tantalizing.
Because I would love to be a guy that lives in a cabin 30 miles from a town and have gigabit internet.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Now,
exactly.
If you live out in the country, a lot of people are still on dial-up.
Yeah,
it's just
that's
broadband
true.
is not available, especially.
No.
It's a big problem in Iowa. Not a lot of people talk about, but the broadband infrastructure is just not there for a lot of the small towns.
No, it's not. It's really not. Even in like bigger towns like Ames here, if you have Mediacom, then that it's like it's a ongoing struggle with them to have like a good rate with also good connection, and they're always having outages and failures, and and it's like, but then at the same time, it's to even just have 100. Like just to have the 100 service, then it's really expensive, and it's just stupid. There's like buildings that are like, yeah, we'll give you 100 megabit service, but then it's like for the whole building.
Yeah, no kidding.
So then everyone's flooded on it, so then it's like you may as well not even use it.
And nowadays with data restrictions on internet lines, like you stream a movie in 4K, that can be gigabytes of data.
Yeah.
And if you only have X number of gigabytes per data, you can use that real quick.
Exactly.
That's another thing with using streaming services is that if you have limits and you go over on those limits, that's gonna hurt real bad.
Yeah, exactly.
People don't realize that. There's a lot to take into account.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
got you. The main point is the cable companies for now got you.
They fucking got you. Yeah, that's like exactly. Like I got to do right now. I got to do the SoundCloud subscription, and then I have Hulu, and then like a couple other things. And then Stitcher is another one that I have.
Netflix,
and Spotify,
I think, and
luckily I'm on my parents' Netflix, but I have Spotify and Stitcher, so then I have like 4 things.
I like the YouTube Music app that comes with the YouTube subscription, though. It's just basically Google Music, but I love it.
Right on.
But it's weird, like, if you like one type of a song from a genre, then they're just like, oh, you like this song? Here's 30 other songs from this genre. Like, I kind of just ventured into this genre for this one song, so you gotta, train it to, like, quit mentioning these other songs.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a friend of mine wanted to hear a country song one time, and I put it on, and then, like, for weeks later, it's like, hey, you want to listen to Tim McGraw? I do not.
No. Exactly.
No. But YouTube has an incognito mode, so you can turn that on, and then it won't remember the searches that you're using at that time.
That's pretty
That's
nice.
a pretty handy feature.
Oh yeah, I would. Yeah, that's actually a good one to use once you get used to it. It feels like one that is probably easy to forget at first.
Oh yes, for sure.
Oh yeah, that's nice though. I've thought about getting the YouTube one because I'm always watching it, but then I kind of look and I'm like, but then I end up watching stuff that's kind of got its own network, and so they're like, okay, but then like if you actually want like the full like uncensored or like the full version of this or whatever, then you got to go to this thing instead. And so it kind of puts you at that impasse of like, well, then if I get YouTube, I still would have to get that one for those. Like Legion of Skanks, for instance, is one I'm a big fan of. But then if I if I get YouTube, it's still gonna be like censored on YouTube when they do like all their videos and all that shit. And
probably have all their stuff on Gas Digital, right?
Exactly, yeah. So then if you get the Gas Digital subscription, then you get all that shit uncensored free. You get the full content. You know what? And then you get to watch see the videos full out that they're currently watching, and then see all that. Like, yeah, sometimes and then recently they have been viewing porn submissions, but but usually it's just videos they found on the internet. And so it's one of those things that YouTube really is weird about, and weird being like they're like real quick about like shutting it down or demonetizing it if they don't agree, but not for like everybody.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of like, this rule applies to this person, but not to that person. Oh yeah, that seems like it happens a lot.
Yeah, depending on who it's like weird little things and loopholes that people like. It's just at this point it feels like there's so much little shit going on with all that it's like clearly people are being like it's almost like some people are being picked on while others are being like raised up.
Oh yeah,
just based on what they can make off of them.
And probably it's because they are at the end of the day a private company, and they probably have some kind of agenda they want to push, even if it's pushing it through their, what do they call them, contributors, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
So they push some, try to hide other ones.
Yeah.
Demonetize this and that. Like, I think it's funny that they'll demonetize a 3-hour podcast for like a 15-second clip that was
played. Yeah. Like Joe, like all the time. Oh God, I like just how much better because I am a fan because I talk about podcasts I listen to quite often, but just as examples for like even the biggest podcast that's like going on is like probably I think is probably the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh, he's bigger than most late night shows.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
And so like and then even he can't show like little YouTube clips because then YouTube will fucking take it off, or like shut him down. And so it's like he brings you like millions of viewers onto just he brings them YouTube so much traffic.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That you would and then he's so certain in who he is in a way that's not corrupt that he can't be used in that way. So in the grand scheme, in a very simplified, not mentioning a lot of things kind of way, that's kind of why they probably are doing that to him. But then you have the ones that can still slip through because they can be told what to say.
Yeah, Rogan, I'm surprised he's still doing his stuff on YouTube. I figured he would have tried to do his own platform.
You'd think, right?
There's just the convenience of having someone else that already has the equipment and the bandwidth,
right,
and the reach and all that.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably convenience more than anything.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, he does so much, and it's like, he does express the frustration with not being able to do that, as well as the guests that he'll have on at the time. But at the same time, that would be a whole other project for him to have to take on to get that whole thing started up. And even if it just meant like hiring a team, he would still have to put in a lot of input and time into that. And so
find people you trust.
Yeah, and with everything he's got going on, that's a real tough one. And so this, especially starting up something like that, so I can imagine anyway. And so that's definitely something.
It's got to be a hard thing to find people you trust if you're already famous.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a real hard one, and that's why people, it's very very it's various between famous people. Because one example I can use is Conan O'Brien. I listen to his podcast, and he'll talk about how the friends he has, they're not like famous. They're like successful, but they're not famous. But then they can just like hang out, and they've been friends for years, like even when he was nobody. So they can just hang out, and it's they've known each other forever. And then you have the people who thought they had those friends, then they got famous, then they're like, oh, these aren't really friends, or they got jealous, and so then you have that's the other end of the spectrum.
They think they're owed something.
Exactly. Yeah. And so like as if they were like in part to it. And so that, or like, they just want money or whatever. And it's all that shit you hear about. And so then that's typically why you see them drawn together. Is it people in that position is because they're also people that happen to. And so then, but then even at that point, you're also busy. You hear famous people talk about like, oh yeah, I'm friends with this other well-known person, but we only have time to see each other like once a year.
Yep.
Because like they're always working, or they're like they got to do location things.
Yeah,
or,
especially comics, because you might see each other in airports, but you're always heading out to different destinations.
Exactly. Always on. Yeah, you're just always moving. So it's it's that path crossing that you got to get into. So that is a big part of it. Yeah. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, how did you get started in comedy?
I've always wanted to do it. I remember watching I don't know what it was. There was a comedy show on MTV back in like 1990, and I remember like
nice.
I think it was like the MTV Comedy Hour or Comedy Half Hour or something like that. And I remember just watching these people and being like, wait, you can make money just by getting people to laugh?
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. I've always wanted to do it. I've always been like off the cuff funny. So I figured I might as well give it a try. Might as well wait till I'm 35 to do it, though.
Exactly.
But I kind of feel like it does give me more life experience to pull off of,
That's true,
being, getting in there at a late age.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of plenty of funny comedians I know of now that started late as well.
That's true, yeah. That's very true. It's a
have-
different game, but it really depends what you do. I think it could really depend what you do and how hard, what you get into it. And it has variables,
Oh, for sure.
So you never know.
There's a lot of talented people, though.
There is.
There's a lot of funny people. I went to Houston a couple weeks ago and had a chance to do a set there at an open mic, and they got a lot of funny people down there.
I believe it, especially those big places. I've always wanted. I've ever since I started doing it in last year when I was 23. I've had the thoughts of like doing like short trips to just like big areas like that just to do mics and shit.
Yeah, I'd love to take a week off and just do an open mic tour.
Dude.
Just like do Tuesday Lefties, do something, try to find something Wednesday in Omaha, maybe Thursday Sioux Falls, in Minneapolis sometime. You probably would have to do Monday through Thursday.
Right, yeah.
Weekend shows are usually paid.
Uh-huh.
But that'd be a fun, dumb little vacation.
That would, yeah. Just like figure out where mics go on and then just like kind of plan it out and then.
Yeah, Dan Umpton posted this database that shows all the open mics.
Really?
I have to find it again.
That
but
would be
it
nice.
was crazy how many there were.
That's insane.
The one I found in Houston, my buddy found, I signed up for it. It was called Back of the Bus Open Mic. A lot of good talent. One of the guys that's been on America's Got Talent went on.
That's cool.
He was the older gentleman that was on a few years ago, comedian. Very funny. Probably one of the funniest men I've ever seen live. He was a murderer for 5 minutes. He was so funny. I'm trying to remember, but I can't. I can't think of his name either, and I met the dude. Whoever you are,
there's
though,
a lot.
you're
There's a lot of names. That's something I struggle with too. Is like because I want to get everyone's name right, so it's probably part of the forgetfulness. But
it's a good hobby to be in.
A lot. Yeah,
it's a good hobby to be in if you want to learn people's names who you're going to be around a lot.
Yeah,
because like I didn't talk to anybody for like the first month that I did open mic, just because I was kind of trying to
I still don't know Wonder Bread's name
and whatnot. Yeah, me neither. No idea.
No idea.
But like every other people, you just pay attention to the host. The host says their name at the beginning and the end of the set. Be like, oh, I know that guy's name now.
Yeah,
good deal.
Definitely.
It takes a few weeks to memorize it, but definitely helps.
Yeah, no, yeah. Once I start seeing them around for a while, I start remembering them. Where I feel like if there's just like a little moment in the night where like something weird happens, then typically that'll help. The fact that some people I learned about with a nickname first, and then like later learning their names, like Wonder Bread, for instance, like we just mentioned, still have to learn his name, but like I know, like, but everyone obviously knows him well as Wonder Bread.
Oh yeah.
And he's like a he's like a Juggalo style dude, because he's like,
Yep.
if you need any other kind of indications of why you should like check him out, because he dresses and paints his face like he's like
Rob Zombie's little brother.
yeah. It's like a hipster with a couple extra points in style.
Yeah.
But then he'll also be wearing like the flat bill cap within like a fedora on that.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
so it's just like, why are you wearing both your hats, man? So it's
almost-
little things like that.
I almost want to keep him mysterious to me, though. I think that's part
Right.
of my enjoyment.
Part of the
is
fun.
That, like, I don't know a lot about him, so I only see them in like these tiny little, bits and pieces.
Yeah, that's true.
There was a couple weeks ago. He was he usually has like majority white face paint with like black on it, but he did it backwards a couple weeks ago, and he was
Ooh.
standing in the back by the door at Lefty's, and I kept like, for some reason I kept just scanning the room, standing there by the bar. And every time I like turned around and made eye contact with him, I like jumped a little bit, and I did that like 7 times, because he was always in the same spot and not moving, so he kind of seems like a statue at times. And I'm like, oh, it's just Wonder Bread, we're good. We're good.
Just Wonder Bread.
That's when he had his other friends with the face paint show up that night.
Oh yeah, okay, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, dude, yeah, that's always. Oh man, that's what I love. That's one of the things that I love about the Des Moines scene is you get those people that show up at it, just like they're just supporting Wonder Bread too, because you know that is not their thing. And every time I see them, anybody like if it like a Juggalo like that, they always have the same demeanor, which is almost just like very nervous.
Oh yeah.
Like it just like almost like the goth kid in high school who's just like they went all out, and so they're just like just real tense because they're anticipating everyone to like make fun of them. But it's at the point where like no one makes fun of them. They're just like, wow, I didn't expect to see that here.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just like it's the kind of place where like you see everything from like real old people that just want to try it to like real young people that are like, I have to go first because I'm not even old enough to drink, and then they have to get kicked out. And so then
Yeah, that's funny.
and there's like a couple comics that they started doing that, and then they hit over 21, and then everyone had, and then they had that was like announced, like they got a lot of attention from being the kids that were like too young to be in there, and then they turned 21.
And now they got to wait till 11:30 to go on in front of 4 people.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome to the game.
Yeah, dude, I was so exhausted on Thursday that by the time I got to Teehees, it was so funny. I was like, hey Sam, I've gone on like pretty late. Matt said, I could just go up a little bit, but then it was so busy, and Sam isn't used to hosting, so I was like, I was like, I didn't want to bug him, and so because I felt bad, and so then it got pretty late, and so I was like exhausted, so I was just like, fuck, I'm just gonna go home.
Yeah, I left at like 11:15.
Yeah.
I went up to Tommy, and I was like, I gotta go, I'm too tired. And then he they always say, ask the next time. So if he's there, I will definitely ask.
Right.
And it's not like I'm not gonna go up and be like, oh, I want to be on at 9:15. Like,
yeah,
as
I
long
just
as I'm
feel
up by
weird.
10:30, I'm good.
Yeah.
'Cause I gotta I have to be at work at 6:15 a.m.
Oh,
so,
at
like,
work. Damn.
Yeah, so I'm waking up at like 5:15. So that being there till 11:15, get home, winding down. I didn't fall asleep till midnight.
Right.
Like, I unfortunately have a late night hobby and an early work shift, and that combination does not help a lot.
Right. Yeah,
A
I
lot
work
of
at
naps.
exactly. I work at 8 in the morning until like 4:30 or 5 on most days, and then but even then, like that's still too early for my liking, But at the same time, it's hard to find a job that starts just at the right time, at a good enough time to work with that, because then obviously the Java Joe's mic starts at 7, and so then like I'm barely making it to Des Moines, getting off at 5 from here, at that point. So another
I love
challenge.
Java
I
Joe's
do.
is a fun room.
That is a fun room.
A lot of the comics don't do it for some reason, but I always had a fun time there.
Yeah, I know. I have a good time there too. It's like I think last time it was kind of weird. Just this last one, because it was kind of people that I was like, well, there was like a couple new ones, new faces, I think, but then like and then like people were clearing out slowly, but plus it was like a pretty small scattered crowd.
Yeah, the weather wasn't the best.
No, it was pretty bad. Yeah, so it was just like super fucking cold, and so and so like there were like 6 people there that were kind of just like friends, and then like there to support their friend, and it wasn't really their thing, you know. It's like, so they weren't really familiar with it, and like Dustin went on, and he had a couple good ones that I hadn't heard him tell before. So then I was like the only one laughing, because I was like, what?
Yep.
Like in the crowd, like really, like I don't care if you like. I mean, the rest of it, I'm like kind of like maybe these people, they didn't really get it. I was like, that's funny, or something, like, you know, or whatever. But then so it was like, man, well, it's like, well, maybe this isn't just isn't their scene. So
Yeah, it seems like
you know,
like it's weird how like the same words and the same order and the same energy can go over so differently at different places.
yeah, that's why that's it. Yeah, that, oh man, learning to read energy is so weird. When cause you get up there and you start to try to get a feel for it, but then
Yeah.
especially at mics, you never know.
I like to lean into it though. If I'm bombing, like I'll just DVD commentary myself how horrible it's going. At the time.
Right.
I remember one time I was doing terrible. I was second on at lefties, and the first guy, who's usually a killer, didn't even get anything. So I knew I was gonna die up there. And I was transitioning to like my third joke, and I'm like, "Yeah, flipping through my notebook, asking, do I have any other jokes you will hate? Hey, here's one you're not gonna like." And
Yeah.
just calling out that these people hate my guts.
Right. Yeah.
No one did well that night. It's
No.
weird. It's just it was a
Exactly.
fairly packed room, and people just weren't having it.
We just weren't having it. Yeah.
Don't know why. There's
Yeah.
these variables that happen, and you can't really find out why.
Yeah, and with such a long list, it's hard to you know, you really need what really. It's a weird thing where sometimes there's a performance where somebody's doing something like kind of like out of the ordinary, and that can kind of kick things into gear a little bit for a while again. But then usually it's just, you know, maybe one or two performers, and so then, you know, the energy stays pretty much low for the majority of it, and so you get like a couple pickups, and you're like, okay, maybe they're turning around, and then it turns out it was just like these couple moments. So you never, but it's one of those things where I honestly think just. Oh my God, excuse me. But I think it's just one of those things that it's time, you know, with the way the weather's going, and the shit's just weird, and there's maybe even a little tension from the fucking impeachment shit. You know,
Could be.
you know, there's just so much going on. Kobe dying. There's you know, so like I think we're at a weird slump. I almost like,
Not
at
a lot
the-
of goods
at the
happened
time being.
lately.
No, but yeah. Are you much of a sports guy?
Not at all. I don't watch
not
any
either, no.
sports. I watched sports when I had some roommates and they played fantasy football, so I would go into it and like I'd be like, I don't even know these people's names. I'd be like, A. Nelson, like hopefully he's good. Like then I'd watch it for that, but ever since then, don't really watch any sports. Like I'll catch a rugby game once in a while if it's on TV. Like it's because I just don't really understand what's happening. It just looks painful and brutal. So
Right.
I'm just like, oh, what's this about?
Yeah, there's some of those that kind of catch your eye with like little things that they do that, but then at the same time, I'm just like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Yeah, baseball's fun to go to. Hockey's fun to go to. A lot of the games, or a lot of the sports, I like in person because you know you feel the energy and whatnot. But I see people get all worked up over their teams, and I'm just like, I don't really have the energy to waste on that.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
I understand you're passionate, but then again, you know, I'm passionate about stuff that they're not passionate about.
Yeah,
It's
no,
just-
exactly. Just gotta feel you have your thing, especially today.
Yep.
It was like the fact of the matter is there was a time when there was pretty fucking limited what you had to enjoy, you know, and then like and it could always, and a lot of it could really depend on what your options were
Oh,
or
yeah.
the environment you grew up in.
Especially back in TV when you had 3 channels. You better hope you like something that's on.
Hey, can you believe it? 3 channels and still nothing on.
Yep.
You know,
Oof.
these like literally literally periods where they're like, well, that's all we got, and then it's
Yep.
just no programming. Like, we'll see you this time.
Back when Johnny Carson could launch entire careers, now you have people who've been on the
Exactly.
Tonight Show 7 times and no one knows who they are.
Yeah,
It's
because
just
it's
weird
like
how that works.
exactly because it's getting because people, especially younger people, you know, because like obviously older people are gonna kind of check it out, but then they don't really care because it's a lot of the younger. There's a lot of younger, newer coming up or have just recently become blown up kind of comics or performers, and people are also getting over the late night host kind of overproduced image of things, you know, and so it's just it doesn't go over well with especially like younger people because they're like people want like a big show, but they want something that there's just this matter of like there's a new energy to what makes something like enticing now. Because like there's 100 fucking hospital shows.
Yep.
There's 100 fucking shows about this or that.
NCIS.
Yeah. There's 100 fucking criminal investigation shows. There, there's it's at some point it's like I'm done. Like Supernatural went into like 2,700 seasons and
they have like 240.
beat this fucking dead horse till it stops spitting out money.
Oof, people love that show. I've never watched an episode, but there are people that will die for that show.
Oh yeah,
They love that show.
they'll die to get to like fucking poke Dave Jensen in the eye or whatever their names are.
It's amazing that like there are these things that people like love that there's so many of them that I have like no idea about. It goes to show like how many choices we have nowadays. I almost wonder if Netflix is going to change stand up in the real world as far as like now they're doing a lot more half-hour specials.
Yeah.
And is that going to bleed down to the clubs where people's attention spans get to the point where they don't want to sit down and listen to one guy yap for an hour?
Right.
Maybe they have two co-headliners a half hour each.
Uh-huh.
Because I almost wonder if that's happening. Because it's hard for me to sit down for an hour and watch comedy at home.
Right.
If I'm in a room, I can do it just fine. But I think that's starting to change. I think
That's different. That's a different energy.
Different.
It's I could actually compare it the similarity to being at a live sport to not being, because I've been to football games, not liking football.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of fun. But like if I'm at home, like I don't give a shit. And like honestly, like my dad loves it. And my family gets into it. So then I'll kind of just play into the energy, like football, But like I'll just cheer for their teams. I'm just like it's like whatever, it's fun.
Are they Cyclones fans?
Yeah.
Figured they would be.
Yeah, my dad's like I'm just like I'm an Iowa fan, but if they're playing each other, I lean Cyclone, especially because we live in Ames. So sorry, football fans, if that ruffles your feathers, but I don't care, and so that's not going to come up often.
Nope.
But that's the beauty of it. And
I don't think I played sports for a little bit when I was younger, but I don't think I'm competitive enough in that regards. Like I really didn't care about the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not even competitive when it comes to comedy. Like I don't look at people as threats. I just go up there and I try to do the best that I can do.
I look at they inspire me. It's
For
like
sure.
That gets it. That's like because I love Cooper. I talk about really liking his style a lot, and
It's very funny.
Oh yeah, and it's because he reminds me so much of the dude who was my best friend growing up, and like the style that we had of just like when we talked to each other, it was all just like literally. It was like we were writing sketches verbally and then like never making anything of it, So it was like that was how we spoke to each other. We just do it, fucking around. It was fun. And so he kind of reminds me of that, and so that's always been my kind of style at the very peak of it. But like when I'm fucking around, and so like, but and like obviously on stage I'm like doing topics and things, but whatever. But and then Mike, and then Dan, and fucking
Which Mike?
Oh, Mike Gettler, and
yeah.
then and then Toll. I really like his I really like his comedy. And there's and then sometimes everyone bombs, but then sometimes you see him do like a good set, and you're like, man, like that is like they got some good shit, right? They got some good fucking writing.
It's fun
It
to
makes
go
me wanna write more.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's fun to go to the shows, like the paid shows, and just see like what these comics consider like their. Dirk Sprouse put it best. It's like, that's a money joke. You want to hear that joke? Pay me.
Right.
Like I know it works. I'm not going to do it at open mics anymore. If you want to hear the joke, pay me. And I kind of have a few bits that I'm leaning on doing that as well.
Right.
And it's fun to just see like what they consider their A material, because you can go to some of these shows and you'll hear stuff that you've never heard at an open mic, because there's no need to do it. They know it works for the most part.
Yeah.
They only reserve it for paid shows.
Exactly.
It's fun to see like what their sets are for that.
Yeah, that's fun. That's a big time fun one. That's such a. And I remember I went to the first open mic at Teehees, and I remember Alex Carter making the point of like, hell yeah, Teehees is open. This is awesome to have a place where I can spend all my time and money. And like, and I was like, I would too if I fucking just like lived in town, because it's just like it's just so much more time and money to have to drive back and forth, because it's like 80 minutes. It's
a long way.
But for me, so for a round trip, so it's like so it's like it kind of adds up after a while. But
I am
yeah.
like 7 minutes away from Teehees.
Oh man,
Living
I
the South
wish.
Side. Get
You
there
go
real quick.
I am heavily considering moving to Des Moines. I want to like kind of see. I want to see what single bedroom options are, and then, like I don't know. I'm looking at. I don't know. I'm figuring it out, but yeah, no, it's a big because I got to figure out my job and shit. But like, I just want to like be in the like the middle of it all, and so, but yeah, it's just an option I have on the table. So, yeah, but there's yeah, that's really fun being able to being real close. I'm sure. So that's
Even though sometimes I don't feel like going, and it's one of those times where it's like if I don't feel like going, I don't go. And if I skip a Thursday at Java Joe's, that's when everybody shows up.
yeah.
Like if I go to Java Joe's, it seems like a third of the people are there. Like I'm a bad omen for Java Joe's for some reason. The last 3 weeks, besides the week before, the 3 weeks before that were packed. And then I'm going to go this Thursday, and there's going to be 5 people.
Right. Yeah.
It's just my luck.
That's how I feel a lot of times too. Is I'm always like there. I just kind of have hit. I always feel like I'm hitting bad nights, but then I gotta get. Then I always feel like I'm just in my own head. But I definitely know how you feel on that one. You definitely fall into like this weird routine.
Oh, yeah.
And so there was like 2-3 weeks recently that I know it was like pretty well. It was like had a good crowd
every time.
And this last week it didn't have such a great crowd, and then it didn't have like the best streak up until the last couple of weeks. So I think now that the weather's getting better, it's gonna start picking up.
I'm glad people come to that room. It's a fun room.
It is. It's a lot of fun. There's so many options for the beverages and everything.
Yeah, I don't know that I feel looser on that stage or whatnot, but something about that room just makes me comfortable.
Yeah.
Like Teehees, I try to do some of my better stuff. At Lefties and Java Joe's, I'll just go up there sometimes with that material.
Yep.
And just see if I can come up with stuff off the top of my head.
Yeah. Yeah. There
That's
you go.
fun.
Yeah.
Someone came up to me like, I can't believe you can do that. I could never do that. I'm like, yeah, you can. Go
Yeah,
up there with
yeah.
that material. Give it a try.
Yeah. Exactly. When you
What's the worst? You're gonna bomb? You've bombed with stuff you've written before.
Right. It's the same thing.
Like at least you didn't put blood, sweat, and tears in it. The tears afterwards.
That's what was so fun about. That's what's been so fun about the Parents' Permission mic lately is that Shane has been adding in the little games for everyone to do. So they were doing like originally for the one a few weeks ago, the plan that was that you were gonna either pull a topic out of a picture or you were gonna do a Would You Rather card. But at the end of it, everyone realized everyone was having so much fun with it all that everyone started doing both.
Yeah.
So everyone was just like, all right, here's my topic and here's my card. Everyone would start with Would You Rather and be like, well, there's my answer. Then they'd move into their topic, try to like bullshit some stuff. And then once they ran out of steam, they'd be like, and back into my material. So that was, because it's not like Mother's Pub typically isn't a packed list. So it was easier to just let everyone go up and fuck around.
I think about 10 to 15 is probably normal for the turnout for that for comics.
That's a good turnout too for them. But it makes sense too. But what's even cooler is that it's also one of the biggest local turnouts. Is because it's like there's a lot of college kids who know about it at this point, and adults who are starting to really get into comedy. Then they find out it's going on, and they like the bar, and so then they go now on Wednesdays. Even the bartender, and Cody made the bartender laugh, have a good laugh this last Wednesday, and she was like, "Oh, I love comedy night," so she's like, and so it's like one of those little moments where you're like, people are really into it, it's hitting, it's got a good thing going in Ames, and I don't want to jinx it, but knock on wood. But
yeah, I'm on there, the Mother's Pub end of the semester show.
Hell yeah!
That lineup is crazy good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talent on it.
Yeah, man.
Only slightly intimidating.
Right.
I believe it's May 6th. I believe is the date.
Right.
It's myself, AJ Simmons, Dustin Pursley,
Nice.
Aloe Mean, one of my
Oh,
favorites.
hell yeah, Aloe.
Love Aloe.
I love Aloe.
Jared
I
Dog.
learned about him from Kill Tony, ironically.
Yep.
Well, not ironically, but coincidentally.
Yeah, I went to the Kill Tony that was at Woolies and watched him
Hell
there
yeah.
as well.
Dude, you were there too?
Oh, yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. I was like, it was fun. It's been fun kind of finding out who all was there because that was my first time. That was before I'd started doing stand-up. I even signed up, and I was like,
I did too.
well, here goes nothing. And
It would have been my third set if I had gone.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, man. That's another thing that's fun, finding out who I started around.
Or I was sweating every time like they put their hand in the bucket. And I was
Me
just
too.
like,
Yeah.
I'd love to get called, but boy, I don't want to get called. Right
Yep.
now. I had a few jokes.
I was sitting right behind Gorilla.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You would have been 2 rows behind me then.
Really?
That guy was really funny.
Yeah, he was.
That guy was surprisingly funny.
Yeah, he was. I like that. He's like, I'm a pilot because I don't want to die alone.
Yep.
I thought that was a good joke.
Great line.
That was a good joke.
Yeah, with his joke about what they call masturbating at altitude, hijacking.
Yeah, I remember that one now. That is a good
Yeah.
one. Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, it's like I can tell like the jokes that I love, I will usually like memorize most of it the first time I hear it. And then later in life, I hope to God I'm not thinking it's my own and I wrote it. Like,
right.
The one thing I'm terrified is being accused of joke thievery, but it really only being parallel thought.
Yeah.
2 people have the same joke. Because I've seen people like get like, you can tell like someone does a joke, you'll see someone side back, oh man, because they had the exact same joke as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that happens a lot.
It does. Yeah. That was kind of what happened. I was working on forming like a full joke around the turtle that got the straw stuck in its nose, around it being about it doing cocaine. And then the second season of The Degenerates came out on Netflix, and Donnell Rawlings had a whole bit about it. So I was like, that's out the window. I literally just threw it aside. Like, okay, done. Like, fucking, I can't fucking compete with Donnell.
But I think what's good about our community and the comedy community in Des Moines is that we will tell others if we've heard someone do a similar joke.
Yep.
Like I had a joke, a dumb Caitlyn Jenner joke, and Matt Jacobson was like, hey, I heard this guy say it. I know you've never heard of this guy, so there's no way you would have ever taken it, but just know he has pretty much the exact same joke.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool, I'm done with that joke. That's fine with me. I didn't really like it anyways. It was kind of an easy joke, so I threw it away.
Exactly. Yeah, there was a discrepancy about Kurt Metzger. I believe it was Kurt Metzger, and then Dave Chappelle, because Dave Chappelle in his special Sticks and Stones did a bit about like the L's. Like if the L, G, B, and T were all on a card, the L is this, B is this, G this. Like they would do these things and say these things, and then I believe it was Kurt Metzger I guess was doing a similar bit on stage, either at the same time or slightly before or something. I don't know about where it was similar but like but with like different details. And so there was discrepancy on whether or not, because it was kind of weirdly specific on like how the formulation of the joke was, that like was really made everyone think it was ultimately ripped off. But then but then at the same time there are jokes where you kind of hear it and you're like, yeah, I could see that being thought of by a couple people at the same time, or just by a couple funny people that are always writing,
especially something in pop culture or something in politics.
Exactly.
People are just gonna dive all over it. I'm sure there were 1,000 Iowa caucus jokes that were the same.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, and if you don't hear, and sometimes when you go to mics enough, sometimes you're just like not paying attention. So then like maybe some kind of like you don't remember hearing a joke, or maybe you didn't hear them
plants
do it.
itself into the brain, and then you say it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, it happens. Like the hijacking joke, for sure, I would not be surprised if there was plenty other.
Had to have been done.
Exactly. So so that's it's one of those things where it's like it's very fitting because he's a pilot, but at the same time it's like hijacking. If you're with as many people who are like thinking about planes all the time, I was like, or flying planes and all that shit. It probably was thought of on some level, if anything.
That's why I would love if there's a website where you could like search,
catalog it.
Basically, like if you have you can put like a few words together from a bit, like
right?
Dog, police, banana, whatever, and it pulls through and it goes through like the transcripts of all the album specials and everything that have been done.
Yeah,
because they're available for the hard of hearing. You can get them pretty easily, and it just. If these 3 words are within the same 60 words, that could be someone else did a bit on it. And you can like be like, well, they came from a different angle or whatnot. Like not make it searchable where you can actually go just look at the jokes. Just find out if your keywords are in like the same bit, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Nice.
I honestly think that would be a cool database to have. And then And then the immediate backfire I can think of with that is the people that would just like spend all their time trying to write as many jokes as possible and just be like, my.
But the only thing, in order to make it in the database, it has to be released. It has to be produced and released.
Ooh, I
So
like that.
it would have to be. You wouldn't be able to find
be
open
like a
micers
Spotify
wouldn't
special or something.
Open micers wouldn't be able to like see what other open micers are doing. But if
Right,
someone
right.
has it to the point where that joke is copywritten, it's on an album, it's been produced, it's been on late night special, it's been on a Netflix special, then those would be the ones included.
Right, yeah.
Because they've already done it, it's been seen, they got paid for it, they probably own most of it, even though I think the copyright laws on specific jokes are kind of squirrely.
Yeah, because I just was actually now because as you said that it was convenient because I started thinking I just started to learn about fair use, which is basically a lot of reference to things, and so it's like maybe you're sort of like using a symbol or wording from another thing, but you're using it as a reference towards another thing as like symbolism, and it's like a whole thing. And so then like that and like things like that fall into fair use, and so then that's definitely where it gets definitely gets a little weird, to say the least.
Luckily, I don't think I'll have to worry about that for a long time.
Right.
It's gonna be a long time if I ever have a CD or anything like that. I was just thinking the other day, one of my buddies was in a bowling league, and it goes on for like 35 weeks. Like, it's crazy how long this thing is. And I remember thinking,
it's
like,
most of the year.
I don't think I would ever want to sign up for a league where I have to do everything, like one day a week. Like, that weeknight is taken by this thing.
Yeah.
And then I start comedy, and now like 3 nights of my week are dedicated to something.
Right.
Like,
but
it's just like I was completely
time,
wrong about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're definitely wrong about your mentality on that. Yeah,
Yep.
and that can also say a lot about where your passion lies too.
True.
Whereas like you obviously didn't have such a draw to bowling that you're like, yeah, I can commit all this time to it, because obviously some people, that's like a big thing they love to do.
Love it.
It's like they're like in their head, they're like, if I just keep doing this, I'll be a pro. And so then they're like, they go to their leagues and they drink and they have fun, whatever. And so then, or they get mad, and then
it's up and down.
Yep.
I'm terrible at bowling.
I used to work at a bowling alley, and it's depending on which league it was, you would get different kinds of people. Because there was like the Budweiser league, everyone was just there to have fun. Then you had like a couple other tiers of league where everyone was just kind of there and they were focusing, but it kind of seemed like they were practicing, they weren't really drinking. Then you had the ones that were like, if things weren't perfectly slick, if like the lanes weren't properly clean or like oiled or like like this and that, like these details, if like they'll like make comment, they're like used to the pins being set up a certain way, so they'll notice if it's like slightly off, and they're like, so that's fucking me up, so now you gotta take off that score and let me do it again. Like weird things, and so it's like they're very particular.
Yeah, comedy kind of feels like I have a second job that I have to pay for.
Right? Yeah.
Like gas money, drinks. Luckily, I don't drink booze at shows. I very rarely drink booze.
Oh, really?
Never been a booze guy. Never
That
really
helps.
have.
Honestly, if that's how you are, that's perfect.
I mean, that saves people. That would save people like $80 a week sometimes.
Right? Exactly.
Drinks are super expensive, especially if you do 4 sets a week. But no, but the gas money and all that stuff, it's...
Yeah, there's no specials. There's the Thursday is the no drink special days for the open mics, because Teehees and Javas don't have like specials. They just have their prices. And so, but yeah, and like Wednesdays I like, because I like whiskey, so I can do $2 whiskeys. So that's perfect for me. And then Tuesdays I often try to play by what the wheel's going. But sometimes it'll be like majority like beer. It's like fuck.
Yep.
Yeah.
My only real regret about comedy so far is I was going to start in 2013. I went to a lot of the open mics. I used to see like Dan and Toll and Alex and Wes Kozad was around back then.
Nice.
Like all these super funny people. For some reason, I didn't have the nerve to get on stage then. And I always wanted my first set to be at the House of Bricks, which is a great venue downtown. What would it be? East 7th and Grand, I think it is. But I do regret not doing that. But, it's Lefties is pretty much the exact same. In fact, Ann was the bartender at House of Bricks as well.
Oh, that's dope.
So, yeah, they just moved it over there, and that old Harry Mary's.
I performed at the House of... Was it the house? Yeah. There's only the one House of Bricks,
Yep,
right?
as far as
Yeah.
I know, yep.
I performed at the House of Bricks once when I was in a metal band. I got to open for 6 people, and then Display Case. By the time
Nice.
Display Case, the headliners were on. They were, it was a pretty decent crowd.
Yeah.
It was really funny. The funniest part about the House of Bricks at the time was that there was like it also was difficult because there was like I think it was like Memphis. I believe it was Memphis Mayfire. There was like M's involved,
Yeah.
in, like the names in the name, but they were performing at Woolies, and so they were taking a lot of the metal crowd already. And then there was the Display Case crowd, but then there was like the table area in the back, which had like various spread out. It wasn't a lot, but it was like just like old people or older people at least, like scattered there trying to have conversations,
Good luck with that.
listening to me in a microphone, like like so. It was an odd one, but it was. And then there was like 6 dudes that were like in their 20s or like early 30s or whatever, just like hanging out. Like it was cool, man. And then everyone was filing, and it started filing in like shortly after.
Yeah, House of Bricks and their infamous no moshing rule.
Yeah,
No
dude.
moshing allowed.
No moshing allowed.
Oh, and in fairness, that place was not the largest.
No, it was. Yeah, it was pretty dense. Yeah, they had to. Yeah, try to save their ass however they can. That's all. It's you gotta understand at some level, but it does suck.
They did have some good shows though. It was a fun venue.
Yeah, it's and House of Bricks is just a fun name. It's like House of Blues.
Mhm.
Like really is kind of why, but like it's because it's such an iconic kind of thing.
Woolies is a pretty great venue too. A lot of people.
I love Woolies.
A lot of people think that the acoustics in there are bad, but I've never thought the sound was bad in there.
Right.
I've always thought the sound was great in that room.
Yeah, I don't
It's a
mind
good
it.
sized venue.
Yeah, I think it's just like if anything, it's probably just it might just be how they have it set up or something. But
There's a lot of the bands I listen to that I would go see. That's about the perfect room for them. Like they're not going to try to fill a Valair. They're not going to go to a venue that's too small for them, like vaudeville.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
a perfect little mid-range venue.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's even a couple artists that have come through vaudeville recently that I was like, man, I would think they would at least be like Woolies, and but it is what it is. You sell the rooms you can fill, and it's that. But it's that kind of thing that you just kind of have to plan around. But
yeah, I saw Rob Zombie at Seven Flags Event Center about like 5 years ago.
That's dope.
It was a Tuesday or Thursday, whatever, but it was nice weather and whatnot. But that place could probably hold, I don't know, 800, 1,000. It's a lot of room, standing room.
Right.
There's probably 150 people there.
Wow.
Like it was an embarrassing turnout, and I don't know why. I've seen Zombie many times in Des Moines.
Yeah.
Like I've seen him play like Vets Auditorium, and then he comes through and there's only like 200 people there. That was very odd. He was on stage like, my management said that if we might as well skip this show because we're gonna be losing money, but I decided to come through the show. But I'll let you know this: I won't be back. Yeah, don't blame me, but
Right. Exactly.
it's an embarrassing turnout for pretty good music.
Yeah.
I love watching John 5 play with Rob Zombie because John 5 is one of the best guitarists in the world, right? But most of Rob Zombie's stuff is not hard to play, right?
No.
So it's like, I always equate it to, it's like watching a Harvard professor teach at a community college. Like, he can do so much more.
Right.
But he just kills that part.
Yeah. I guess that's a good way to I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a damn good guitarist. Nice guy too.
Right on. Yeah, it's fun meeting them. It's fun meeting them when they're nice. That's all. That's it. Those are the ones you're like, and they say don't meet your heroes, and then you meet one, and you're like, you're real happy about it. And you're like, oh, maybe I just caught him on an off day.
I don't know if I've ever met one of my heroes that I was disappointed in. I've met quite a few musicians. I used to work for a band in Omaha, so we'd meet quite a few of the musicians that came through, and most of them are pretty cool. Some of them, stayed away from green rooms and whatnot just to be left alone. Maybe they're the ones that I didn't meet that would have been bad. Who knows?
Right.
But usually most of the famous people I've ever met, they're pretty down to earth people.
Right on. Yeah, that's what I loved about because I was involved with Strange Music for a while, and and a big part of what I liked about that is that they were all pretty cool dudes. So it was they're easy to work for, and and like it wasn't like I was really dealing with any of them directly, but it was just to be involved. It was a lot of fun. They try to get you back, and so it's a lot of fun. But yeah. And I just remembered I did want to talk to you about your podcast idea. Put it out there. Get people interested in it, because I think it's a good idea. I think it'd be a fun one.
It might be a little difficult to execute part of it, but I think the majority of it would be fun.
Yeah, You could, yeah, because I can help you out for sure.
Yeah.
But go ahead and describe your idea if you don't mind.
So the idea that I have, please don't steal this. I want to do a podcast called Birth of the Bit, where it's kind of like a workshop podcast where a guest would bring in a concept or an idea or whatnot, and we spend some time trying to make it into a workable bit. Most
Right.
likely, as close to a 5-minute bit as possible. It's not going to be all of that, but, 15, 20 minutes of the regular bullshit of podcast takes, and then try to workshop a funny bit, and then go watch them do it live and record it and just see how the crowd did. How the crowd likes it, if not. And then eventually I'd like to have them as a return guest in a segment and play the bit again and see how it's evolved.
Yeah.
See how it's changed since then. The only thing I'm concerned of, people might not want to burn material, but I doubt anyone would listen to my podcast anyway, so it's probably not a concern. But the people that did, when they hear that bit, they're going to have a connection to it. They're going to be like, oh my God, I remember when that bit was created, and like, look what it is now. Like, I remember how it was when it was first out there, but now look how it's changed.
Right, yeah.
But this is coming from a guy who can't even write a 5-minute bit, so maybe I shouldn't do this.
but at the same time, it
could help.
It could help.
Yeah.
That's it's if you start if you start really fucking around and like doing it like that, like working with funny people, that's a lot of good effort. It's something to bounce off of,
Yeah, I think
That can
what
help.
the average length of one of my jokes is probably 7 seconds. Good Lord. Most of my jokes are pretty quick.
Yeah, that's a big thing I'm trying to work on myself, is trying to like tag things, like
Yeah,
add
for
on
sure.
extra details and make it more of a full thing, and so. Yeah, it's difficult
It's
for sure.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, yeah.
100% it's difficult.
But yeah, and also, I'll make a side note here. If it'll be probably, it could definitely be a few weeks. I could definitely hold out like however long you wanted to, for sure. It'll probably be 3 weeks probably. Before it comes out. So if you decided to, I could just chop out the bit where we talk about it. If you would rather just start working on it before announcing it.
No, I don't know if I'm even gonna do it. I haven't even decided yet. It'd be a fun idea to do, but then you think of the work that it involves as well.
Right.
That's the daunting part of it.
Yeah, because it wouldn't even have to be a weekly thing. It could be like a
Nope.
monthly thing. You
Could
that you
be
can
for
make
sure.
that you can just put more of a work into, and you have such a longer time period to do it for. And so, there's and that could definitely be a fun one. And so, but you definitely got options to work with there,
Yeah, and a lot of funny people in this town that'd be fun
Exactly.
to work with.
big time. Yeah, definitely. I definitely think it'd be good. So and I can help you out if needed be. I got
Appreciate
the couple mics here. It can be the amateur producer, and
The
then
red band
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll be your red band.
or blue band.
Either way,
Or
however,
your
any of
mom's
the
house.
exactly any of the bands. Call me. I'll be the green band or purple band.
I think it'd be fun to do. And plus, like, we go to the open mics, but we might not necessarily have that much time to like talk to people like one-on-one too. Like, I think that's what the most comedians like about having their podcast, is because they might be able to sit down with one of their friends for an hour at a time, no phones, no distractions, and actually just be able to catch up and like
Right.
actually communicate.
That's one of the bonuses of it. Yeah.
And some of these traveling comedians, the only time they see their friends is on the upcoming posters at comedy clubs, because they're going to be there the next week.
Right. Exactly.
That's the closest they get to seeing them.
True. Very true. That adds that helps a lot. Yeah.
So if you ever made it big, do you think the travel would wear on you? I'm sure it would eventually, wouldn't it?
Right, yeah. I feel like the thing I have noticed is when I do travel, I end up having like it's that thing where you're like, I do like miss being home, but like I love it but I love it so much that it's like, that I'm like, I've always had so much fun traveling that I'm like, I think I can handle it,
I
because
think I could too.
right, exactly. And there's that's actually, and actually that's something that I could probably talk to you more about as time goes too, is because I had the same idea you had of like hitting mics. It's like doing like a week where I'm just like I'm traveling around hitting mics and stuff, and like branching out.
fun.
So I've thought about hitting talking to people that I think I could in probably a ruder term, tolerate for a week, but like people that I think are funny and that I get along with, that I would like traveling, I would like hanging out with for a week, to do fucking mics and just hang out.
And it's nice to know that, Like when I did that set in Houston, it was nice to know that my material worked in a completely different region of the U.S.
Right.
Because we don't know if the humor that we're currently working